Today's guest is one of Australia's most respected elders. Professor Jackie Huggins, AM, FAHA, is a proud Bidjara and Biri Guba Juru woman, an author, historian, and lifelong advocate whose work has shaped national conversations on truth-telling, reconciliation, and Indigenous women's voices. As co-author of Auntie Rita and co-contributor to landmark national inquiries, her voice carries history, dignity, and deep wisdom. This is a conversation to listen to properly. Professor Jackie, welcome to the Present Day Wise Woman podcast. And please correct me if I didn't pronounce any of those words right just then.
Oh, hi, Jen. Yeah, just a couple of words there. It's Berry Gubba and Bidjara that my mob are from, and that's Central and North Queensland. But that's okay. You nearly got it right. It was
Oh,
fine.
I'll
Good
put my
enough.
best. Well,
Yeah.
thank you. It's great to have you here today. Let's just start. I was curious. If you look back over your life's work, what feels the most unfinished and why does that still matter now?
Mm. Well, certainly, across my life, I've had 30 years experience in reconciliation and as a child before that, of course, watching my mother work with white people to create an understanding and a way forward. And I think that's a lifetime journey, actually. It will always be unfinished business because there's so much to do, and you know, time runs out for all of us. And, I've given my life and will continue to give to work in reconciliation. And that's very much unfinished business, not only for white and black in our country, but, as we see um, recent events, it's right across the board with migrant ethnic groups and the multiculturalism, I think, which I would love to see more in our country, but as well, it has eventuated, but not eventuated to the full extent that I would love to have seen it uh, really prosper. But I guess in saying that, global events take over. And I have to share this little story with you is that my mum, before she died, who was, the absolute inspiration of my life, Auntie Rita, wrote her book 30 years ago, actually, this year. She did say to me that, the world's going to be a ever-changing place. It will be a hard, hard place. And she foresaw a lot of the issues that would happen today. Like she said, there will be wars and there will be people fighting each other, there'll be lack of love and trust. Um, and, we really have to just go with that, really, in terms of, see the good side of people and not the bad. So for me, that all has always stayed in my mind about the unfinished business that we all have to do. So yeah, it's one of those life lessons, I suppose, that we all think about and learn and yeah, pass down with. So
Mm.
yeah.
You've spent decades helping to hold Australia to account through truth telling.
Mm.
What or why do you believe this country still resists hearing?
Well, the first thing is that this country must acknowledge that um, our country was built on a lie. So when Lieutenant Cook came over, he was told to take the land with the consent of the natives. of course, which he never did. So that was lie number one. And lie number two, of course, was around Terra Nullius, that this was an empty land and that nobody was here or fought for this land or, um, you know, really passively resisted. There were no wars, frontier wars, but as history has progressed, you can see that that's been a fallacy now, and there's been some really good, books and doc documentaries coming out. Um, the latest is The Australian Wars by Rachel Perkins, and I think that goes to highlight that that this country was really founded on lies. So, in order to correct that, we must tell the truth. And the truth telling, I think, comes through um, um, books, comes through art, comes to a whole range of vehicles so that which we can use to in order to really tell the truth. And whether people acknowledge that or not, uh, needs to be seen. But I think, the truth telling is something, of course, too, that will remain unfinished business for generations and generations. So I could probably predict that now, as my dear mother predicted what a world we would live in when she was gone, 30 years ago too. That's when she went to be with the ancestors this year, actually, no, 2026. That'll be 30 years for her.
Mm.
So, yeah, there's a long way to go, and but I do feel satisfied that I've contributed to um, as much as I could um, that was humanly possible at the time for me with my work and family obligations. And my very dear friends that I hold very close to me, both Indigenous and non-Indigenous, who really, sustain my need
Mm.
uh, for social cohesion, I guess, for want of a better word. Yeah.
Mm. Very cool. I'm curious what for all this to advance, real listening has to happen, doesn't it? Like to bring
Mm.
to bring real change. How
Yes, look, deep listening has to occur,
deep listening. Okay.
deep listening. Unless the deep listening doesn't occur, then you can't. It's like, talking to a wall, really.
Yeah.
You can't get through that wall on the other side. So if people take that on and to really listen, but also to listen and to action, what's being said in
Mm.
a way. And I often think about the world of Aboriginal politics and how we have the solutions at our very fingertips, and and people just will not listen to what we think uh, and how we can heal others, in our communities, but also right across the country as well. People don't think that it's valid sometime, or we're just being too, you know, spiritual in that sense, quote unquote, and really don't take that seriously. So, and, let's face it, well, we'll probably get onto this, around the results of the referendum. And I
Mm.
always said around there, it will be a referendum on what people think of us. And it certainly was, which
Mm.
means there's still a long way to go. But still, close to 7 million people voted yes, and that still gives me great hope for the people that I want to work with, and the people who do believe in social justice for um, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. So, yeah, the journey goes on in a real sense.
Yeah, I get that you would have the answers for so much of today because you have such long history.
Mm,
I do a lot of work in my work up in Asia, in particular like China,
mm,
thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years, and the same as you, and they go, oh yeah, we've had leaders like this in the past. Oh, okay. They just they get it differently, and you have so much history. It's crazy that we don't listen
mm.
and act.
Yeah, truly, it is crazy. And I think there is a very deep, I'm not talking about everyone, but uh, out there, there's a very deep suspicion and threat around Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples, our communities, our philosophies, and the way in which we live our lives, really. And that it's an acceptance still that we are the other. We are the other, and the othering of people goes on and on and on and on. Um, Even for our people, not only for our people, but you know, others that don't know each other that well. I mean, I'm really sad to say that I don't have I don't have a Jewish friend, that
Hmm.
I could have lent on for what's recently happened in Bondi and ring them up and console them and say, I'm here for you, I stand with you. But I've got a couple of Palestinian friends, of course, that uh, that I know. But then other groups as well, very few African people um, that I'm able to talk with and call them my friends. So I don't know. I feel in a way I've missed out there a bit, but I guess you can't be everywhere at one time, and certainly non-Indigenous and talk usually white fellas. Got a lot of those wonderful women friends who support and back the challenges I face very much. So that's a comforting thing, I suppose. Yeah, but that deep listening is not happening to the extent that it should be. And um, each time I think we're always taking those two steps forward and one step back. Got to, it's always, kind of like walking a tightrope sometimes, never know when you're going to fall off. And
Hmm.
that hurts. And you just jump back on the, uh, on the horse again and
Oh,
keep going for it.
what keeps you jumping back on the horse and going for it?
Um, well, the realization that things might improve, that things will improve,
Hmm.
um, that some people will listen. And these young people, it's just, let me talk about the young people who are coming up now. I just feel so empowered by them. The ones I know. Um, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of bad as well, sad issues in our community. I mean, yeah, youth suicides are still right up there, and deaths. Um, but the young people I know and that I work with are so respectful
Hmm.
to me now, and it's probably comes with age and status and who you are in the community. But these young people are so sophisticated. Many of them have degrees. They're very well educated in the sense of even tertiary education. But what's more important too is that they're very grounded in
Hmm.
their own. family, community, and cultural integrity. And I think that has to happen first before, all the education, Western education, gets dumped on them. So, no, my dear old mum used to say when I had my son John, who's 40 this year, and she said, you must grow that child up with to let him know who he is, where he comes from, and to be proud of his Aboriginality. And she said, if you do that, then all else does follow. And it did, it did follow. I have a very strong and proud young man
Mm.
who really loves our culture. It's a bit of a mini me in that respect.
Well done, Mum.
Um, yeah, good old, um, the good old, integrity that he has is just quite amazing to see this young man
Mm.
uh, develop and grow up now. Well, he's getting to middle age status now.
Mm.
And but always remember those words of my mum saying, "This is what you do. You give him the best foundations of life as an Aboriginal person, because he and all of us, we cop it later on in our lives. There's no escaping from this. Being born Aboriginal is great privilege and pride, but it's also you need to have a defense. And I call it a suit of armor that we all have, when we go out. Or, I remember in my 30s, I guess, when I was going through a really radical phase of, and when I say radical, it was about gaining my own identity and being able to think about what history has created and how our people have suffered. And that's when I was going through university and learning for the very first time about the frontier wars. My mum always told the story of her being on an Aboriginal mission reserve, and we lived with that and the treatment that she and her brothers and sisters, mother and father, received, which was very harsh. And yeah, that of course stayed with me all my life. And I certainly didn't want to see the racism that was inflicted upon her be, inflicted upon me, but it was, by virtue of being an Aboriginal woman in this country, you cannot escape the racism or the violence that will come at you um, in your life. So she prepared me for that, and I prepared my son in terms of providing the suit of armor that you held things very close and dear to you, but with uh, you would always, have that, especially when you walked out into the wide world. And I remember in my 30s just waking up and feeling so defensive about what today would bring as an Aboriginal person. And, quite often, uh, those stereotypes, the prejudices, the racism would come up, and I would have answers for it. I would feel it instinctively, but by now I learned to deal with that and have answers. So really, nothing these days can shock me. Um, I will be 70 next year, and nothing shocks me today about what people think or might know or talk about uh, my people. So I'm prepared for it, and it certainly doesn't. It still hurts, of course. It still hurts, but
Mm.
not as deeply as I was back then, and half a lifetime ago. In terms of more than that, actually. Thinking about where my life would be heading in this such a dominant culture, and how I could eke out an existence that would not only benefit me but my family and community. So that's the kind of fight and issues that
Mm,
keeps me going, because it's never ending. It's
mm,
never ending at all, and you just keep battling on as best you can with your joys. There have been some great wins along the way, uh, and all the disappointments that you take as an Aboriginal woman
mm.
in the 20th century.
You mentioned integrity when you're talking about your son.
Yeah.
As an Indigenous woman and historian and all that you are, how do you protect your own integrity and cultural integrity, if it's appropriate for me to ask that,
Yeah, sure.
while you work inside social institutions and inquiries and everything? You must be challenged daily.
Oh, yes. Look, it's a very big balancing act working in institutions that I have worked in, and yeah, that are predominantly colonial and white,
Yeah.
without question. Universities, state libraries, and working in commissions, royal commissions that uh, are set up, and these are not systems that are of our own making. These are systems by which we have to navigate and find the best way we can service our people, the best way we can be able to, drive our own agendas, subvert the status quo in a sense. And I've always managed to do that without too much hassle, really, to tell you the truth. Oh, it's been an effort, but sometimes you can really talk people around your situation and what you feel is possible, and how your people can get there. But it's so frustrating. I had 12 years younger, when I was much younger, um, working in mostly the Commonwealth government, and I learned uh, I don't know if it's tricks to the trade, but a lot
Ways
of
around the
uh,
system.
yes, that's it. Yeah, ways to work around the system
Um,
rather than working within it. I mean, you're always in it,
yeah.
but you can work around it.
Mm,
And that's what I do today, is that I love mentoring
yeah.
uh, young folk and try to give them some possibilities of success, of shortcuts, actually.
Mm,
The possibility of, oh, I did this, but you can do this, and what about this way? And I work at the moment. I'm working on well, three mentoring projects for uh, Melbourne University, UQ, and another NGO called Common Threads, and they're all our young campaigners that work right across the board in with deaths in custody, homelessness, um, health, media, you name it. These young people, because for me now, anything under 60 is young.
yeah. I'm
And
64. I still think I'm young, and I still think you're
yeah,
big gap. Come
yeah.
on.
I should say 65 then. Anything under 65 is young for me. But they really, I just love that. That's where my work's heading at the moment, and just in terms of being able to offer some wisdom, I guess, and advice and structure around. And you know what? They usually listen to me, which is fantastic. I love that.
Mm,
And yeah, that's what I love to do now. Part
nice.
of my job, but part of my, experience of how I can certainly, give back to them and my communities. So and it's really nice. I was out of the workforce for a couple of years before just recently. I've been a year at University of Queensland, and they just offered me another 3-year contract,
Congrats.
which of course will be the bookends of my career, and that would be nice. I'd like to have a bit of time out for myself, but I'll never fully retire at all. I'll be doing some mentoring of sorts, and even probably I might. Yeah, at the moment I'm kind of taking a rest from writing because yeah, I've probably felt I've said as much as I can, but then you never know. I could probably take the pen up again.
Never
So
say never.
that's a possibility. That's what I do after I finish my 3-year contract here. I'll probably go back to writing.
Nice.
Mm.
Well, you've got the wisdom to share. I'm curious, how do you nourish yourself, Jackie? Like personally to keep going?
Yeah, oh, it's always there's always a kind of a uh I'm not sure what to call it. Help me out if you can, Jen, but there's always it's almost like a threat or that I'm not doing enough or there's so much to do, that still has to be done. I know I can't take it on all myself or by myself. I have wonderful networks that help me with this, but it just keeps me going to think that you know, with what I've got left in me, I want to make sure, it's and it's ever present, it's always constant, that I can contribute in some way to make it better, make it better for people,
Yeah.
our communities, and yeah, just the way we all see the world, and you know, another thing too was just sometimes I think you feel you're turning into your mother. Well,
I said today to Alice, fuck, I'm turning into my mother. Me
I know,
too. Me too.
and that's what we do, isn't it?
It
Like,
is. It,
um,
huh.
back in my radical days, I hated white people,
Mm,
really hated white people and
mm.
what they've done and
Yeah.
why and I used to see my mother just this wonderful uh, essence of a woman just working and really she was involved in the 67 referendum for God's sake,
Mm.
and there was a little band of wonderful white women, um, Jessie Streets of our world that work with her, and that was great. And I watched her, go to meetings and stuff like that, and she'd always be so gracious with me, with them. But as I got older, I used to see that as I kind of came through that. You see it as a sign of weakness, but
Mm.
really it was a sign of strength, of great
Huge.
strength, huge.
Yeah.
And I really understand that positioning now.
Mm.
Um, but she passed before I could even tell her that. That was the greatest lesson in life. It was not a weakness. It was certainly a strength of hers that she could navigate those positions and negotiate and communicate with
Huge wisdom.
all sides. Yeah,
Yeah.
all sides of the spectrum, black and white, which I've continued to do now, as much as I can. But my focus is always will always be on our mob to see,
Oh,
what we can get out of it for them. But yeah, so yeah, we do. And I thought, oh gee, and people say to me, gosh, you were so angry. You were so angry back then. You've mellowed so much. And I said, well, I haven't mellowed really. It's just that I've probably not, voiced what I felt back in those days. And even my friends today that I've maintained those links with, who saw me in that stage to what I am now, um, I said, "Wow, you've," and I said, "all the lessons I've learned in life, really,
Mm.
that I feel, you know, well, very comfortable around, and feel, look, no big deal. This has happened, that's happened. It's a pity, but we get on and we live life, and don't take it all on ourselves to be angry and
Mm.
frustrated and wild all the time. Although there was a place, and there still is a place for
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
anger's a good thing, really. Anger can be a good thing if it's used in the right way. And for me, um, my best version of anger was to write. And when I wrote in the 80s, the anger just poured out of me, it just came out of me, and I backed it up with, of course, historical records and
Mm.
facts so that in a way that, well, everyone needs to understand that, but that white fellas wouldn't think I was lying or cheating. There it was, the whole evidence of truth telling, really. So so
Yeah.
yeah, that's that anger is, people should not, and I say to the young ones today, don't ever apologize for the anger, because it is a good thing if you use it in the most appropriate way that you can, and you can do that. Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
that's not too bad.
Well, it must be an age thing because I have a deep inner rebel in me, and she still
Yeah.
sticks her head up to fight for those, the things that are wrong. However, I learned with my wisdom that if I was just fighting and I couldn't be heard, it didn't do anything. So, like you backing up, your anger with all the evidence and everything, we've got to be heard amongst it, don't we?
Yes, yes,
Otherwise,
that's right.
angry is just angry. You can't bring change.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of my people so angry that you just can't break through that, and it's just so second skin for them, and
Yeah,
they, as a consequence, they get sick. They get
absolutely. It
they
sticks
get
in your
sick.
body. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, bloody
and
whiteys don't. They do.
yeah,
I
yeah,
agree.
that's right.
I agree. As in, with my naturopath hat
Unfortunately.
on, yeah, anger
Yeah, and all our
runs in our
chronic
body.
diseases that we have.
Yeah, it's shit.
Yeah.
It's,
Mm,
mm,
there's not much benefit, health-wise, in being Aboriginal, that's for sure.
being angry
All the
Aboriginal is
chronic,
not going to help. Yeah.
yeah, all the chronic diseases we'll get in our lifetimes, that have been, all that result of
Yeah,
colonization
we
and the
introduced.
PTSD. I
Mm,
know I carry on still in my mother's life and my father's life as well,
mm.
as he was a prisoner of war in the Burma-Thailand Railway.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so died at the age of 38, and my mum was left with four kids
Mm.
to raise by herself. So you can imagine, what our lives were like, various stages, and it's like everybody, And the other thing too, she always saw the goodness of we all human beings, and I never thought. Used to never think that white fellas had a story. It was all about us, all about, you know, how we felt. And it was very self-centered, and so forth. And then along came reconciliation. I don't know who found each other. It found me or I found it. Um, but the idea that, white fellas had a story was something that just really opened my eyes. And I think even in the truth-telling aspect of our history, those stories need to be told. And it's great when you hear them. I know that when we were doing the truth-telling project before it was dubbed by Queensland government, um, there were a lot of white people that came to our consultations and said, well, look, I want to tell my story as a as a victim and as a perpetrator, and my families who massacred people on the Darling Downs here or out west, Queensland. We want to tell our stories too, so what's the avenue, you know? So the goodness in that too, and I love hearing that. I was just looking at When the War is Over. It's an ABC um, documentary about various wars in Australia. And, uh, there was a guy there. Um, I don't know if you know Windradine. It's an Aboriginal warrior up
No.
at Bathurst
Okay.
that way. And he is buried on the property of this man whose great 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 grandfather
Mm,
was such a wonderful ally to and support for Windradine, and he harboured him there when the troopers were looking for him and gave him refuge. And it was just such a wonderful story. I love hearing those stories
mm,
of how people come together and they actually work together and overcome all those terrible barriers of
mm.
being, white fella, black fella. But at the same time, they really, you know, speak to us about what true reconciliation can be
Mm.
on the very human level that my mum always spoke about, about we're all humans. And I never used to believe that. I said, no, there's white fellas and black fellas, and that's the way it is. But as I grow older and into her, it's more apparent, much more apparent. Mm.
So do you see that reconciliation still has meaning or purpose in Australia today?
Oh, yes, more
Yeah,
than ever, you
it's
know.
advancing it.
Oh, yes. Look, I fear a country without a reconciliation process,
Ditto.
to tell you the truth. There has to be something that's tangible, that's working out there for all of us.
Mm.
And, I'm part of the crew that walked over the Sydney Harbour Bridge and I saw all that. I never knew that so many white fellas cared for us, the show of support. More than probably 250,000 people, and I saw that, around 7 million voted for us for the Yes campaign. So there has to be something there that's still, niggling this nation
Yeah,
and what we can do about it. And I think for me, the answer is about we do it within our own circles, within our own families. We just empower them to carry on the fight for us, and and they will. Everyone will carry on this fight. It's not only about me to do it. There's a responsibility for everyone, and to get it out there.
you spoke of the wisdom that your mum gave you before. Is there
Mm.
anything else like really that stands out that you learned from your mum or your aunties that no university, no policy table, no boardroom, none of that she could ever teach you?
Yeah, look, I think the whole thing around communication and how to conform in a sense when it suits you to
Mm,
Western ways, and that is around the schooling system and the way in which you are able to converse with people at all levels. And I have done that from my mob in Cherbourg Aboriginal community to the Prime Minister of Australia.
mm,
And I would go to those meetings with my mother and those political meetings, and I would watch her just converse on a daily basis with these people and how to negotiate those positions. Now, I did the same with my son.
mm,
He has the ability to be able to do that as well. His communication and his writing skills are A plus, I think. So I think with the aunties and how to go in when it's necessary and be disruptive, and when to pull back and when to just go with the flow. I think all those tensions that you need to have, for instance, I'll just give you a quick example. My mother and I were going on a road trip back to Cherbourg, and we pulled into this cafe, and this woman, they're really redneck towns all the way up
Yeah.
to Cherbourg. It's about a 4 hour journey. But this was probably back in the 80s. It would have been. And they brought out some cups that were not clean and dishes, you know. They put them on the table, and I looked at Mum, and she looked at me as if to say, "Don't say anything, Jackie. Don't say anything." I'm at the height of my radicalism, right?
Let mum deal with it.
Yeah, and I was spitting fire. And the woman came out, and I said, "Will you take these cups and saucers back and wash them? And then we will eat at your premises." Oh, she gave me a big huff. But she did. She took them back, washed them, and came back out.
Mm.
And I saw my mother's face. She was quite embarrassed about what I'd said, but she knew what I was like, and I wasn't going to um, put up with that. So I'm not sure why I gave you that answer, but it's a good example, I
And
suppose, of how
yeah. And
never
I'm just
bending down.
really sorry that shit still happens. And
Yeah.
the inner rebel in me is happy that you used your voice.
And I used my voice then, and I always have since I was 16. I was 16 at the ABC, my first job, bunch of racists, asked me did I speak the Boong language out at Musgrave Park.
No.
And he was an ex-Vietnam vet who was a partner of one of the women there, and we'd been to a Christmas party or something. And there was another time in a tea room, really putting down blackfellas, and I just flew into them. I was ready by that stage, 16. Just came back at them, and the tea room scattered. Um, but you know what, Jen, to my sad, sad self, looking back on that, no one came to my rescue.
Ah.
No one. They're all white people. They saw what had happened. They
Okay.
didn't even come over, put their hand on my shoulder, and say, "Jackie, we're sorry that happened, but good on you." People just ignored it. They wouldn't do that today.
No,
I'm sure
that's
they would not do that today. But maybe in those days, this was, gosh, this was the 70s. And I guess nobody had the vocabulary to speak it back at those times. So we've come a long way,
yeah.
in
And still
terms of that,
so much better.
those kind of ideologies and
Mm.
thoughts about Indigenous people.
Tell me about the wise woman, your Indigenous women, your elders. From what I see on the outside, or I
Yeah,
preconceive whatever, I just see there is, there's respect.
yeah,
Culturally, it's wildly different. Us whiteys, we stick our oldies in the bloody nursing home and
mm,
we don't listen to them. It's bullshit. Where I see
yeah.
something different. What's the roles
Oh,
of your
yeah.
women nowadays?
Yes, well, as we get older, well, certainly for me, I feel I'm getting wiser all the time. And I look around at that generation before me of the old ladies, and they were pretty much all the aunties, back those days, and they would put us in our place.
Mm.
If we said something, we would shudder in our boots, and they would look at us in a certain way, or they'll tell us not to do that. And now, unfortunately, I feel I'm doing that now to
To-
others, especially my own mob, and I'll pull them up and say, "No, enough." And they stop and they listen, mostly. There's never any back talk um, uh, in my circles, you know. I
Mm.
know there is in family groups and so forth, there would be back talk, but I've been very fortunate that um, the people I deal with now just take what I say just literally, but they never question. They never will question what I say to them. If I have second thoughts, they'll come back and say, "Oh no, look, I shouldn't have said that. I should have taken it back," you know. But and it's kind of very comforting to tell you the truth. You know, it feels like I have made it in this world when I feel I've become a wise elder who people respect, they want to look up to, and they want to emulate. So,
Mm.
so that's been very, um, it just feels so gracious to be able to be in that position. I mean, sure, maybe they say things behind my back, but nevertheless, you know, and I had a couple of years off working, and just recently, you know, I've been back at UQ for 1 year now, and I've realised just um, the importance of being me. And I've seen people who acknowledge that, who say things, who really do give me great acknowledgement that you know, maybe I just haven't had time to sit back and hear it all or listen to it. Maybe I wasn't doing the deep listening those, but now, you know, it's a kind of a reverence that I guess I had taken for granted until recent times. But that reverence, I know it's always been there, but I've kind of taken it on board now. And it's not only from my mob, it's from others as well. Not non-Indigenous people too,
Yeah,
um,
they
who do
respect
that,
you.
you know, like
Yeah.
your Alice
Mm.
and others. Uh,
My Alice
so
is special.
yeah,
She's
thank you.
deeply
Yeah,
respected.
it's nice to get that. Yeah, it's really, really nice to hear that, to get that.
Mm,
And you know, writing books has been really important for me too, in order to get my truth out, to
mm,
do truth telling. They've all been non-fiction. I feel that's important, and because of my training, but also the way I write, I just can't script it to a fictionalized character or a book like that. But that's just me. Look, and probably the only black fella in Australia that can't write a poem. When I see all these young poets just coming up and just killing it, you know, I've tried to turn my mind to fiction and to poetry, reading and writing, and unfortunately, I just can't do it, you know. I've got a block there. Something happens. Mm.
It might be coming for after your next 3 years.
Oh, you never know. I might get
No,
a
don't write
poem.
it off,
Yeah.
Jackie.
No.
So
Yeah.
what do you think, like what responsibility can whiteys like me, non-Indigenous women carry in this moment? Like women like me listening to the podcast, everything,
Yeah.
actually stepping into our elderhood
Yes.
as
Yeah,
well.
well, your elderhood too is really important for how you achieve or what you do in your life. I know that a very dear friend of mine is turning 80, non-Indigenous woman, one of my closest friends turning 80 in January. And, you know, we're having a small dinner party for her. And I've always thought about Jude's qualities. And, you know, years ago, uh, when I had a job in the public service, and she worked there too. She was much more, you know, great SES level kind of thing, and I was just doing project work. We didn't quite work together, but we worked cross departments, and I used to see her, and uh, you know, we didn't have uh, a real close relationship then until, about 5 years ago we re-met,
Mm.
and she came through um, the referendum with me, became a great ally, a confident ally, as we say, her and her partner. And, you know, and I think about her life and where she's got to now,
Funded retiree.
self-funded
Yeah.
retiree. Yeah, I always get that wrong.
Yeah.
And enjoying life and really, oh, sure, we all get our health problems, but she is a non-Indigenous elder, I would say, but you're right, the kind of relationship that's there between her community and mine, in terms of people viewing white people as elders and viewing me as an elder is different,
Mm.
very different. And you're right, you know, put people in homes and stuff. Uh, of course, we keep them as long as we can,
Mm.
uh, out of homes until they get really, really sick and we can't help them any longer. But the I've just I couldn't wait to grow old, to tell you the truth.
Same.
Now, I
I've
think
been
that's
hanging out for
probably,
these years. Same.
yeah, I've been hanging out for these years,
Yeah.
being, um, an elder
Better.
because, it's never a question. But not saying that, I don't have my haters. There's a couple of haters out there, but they're just silly ex-family who are jealous and envious of me and the life I've led, and they want to lead such a pathetic life that they do.
You've
You
made
know,
different choices.
as druggies and so forth. I have to cut off the ties and the barriers there with them. Makes me feel good because that negativity does not come
Mm.
into my body or my soul,
Yeah.
and I can keep it at a distance. And it's around all that armor my mother had built with me, that is good. Some of my other family members don't. All they say, we're not as strong as you. And I just know I had a different experience and learning experience from my mother.
Yeah.
So yeah, but getting back to your question around what whiteys can do, um, look, I just think it's great you know, um, to have friendships if you can,
Mm.
um, Indigenous women particularly, and to be able to sit down and have a cup of coffee, a yarn,
Yeah.
and it will always stay with you, like forever. And with my friend, I talked about, we have um, regular coffees. There's me, another Indigenous woman who's a friend, and two other, would you believe,
Wow.
gay white couples that we
Yeah. Yeah.
that we mix with.
We're around. You do it
Yeah,
again. Crossing that
and
barrier. I love it.
and my actually it's quite interesting because John said, "Mum, how come on your white mates are gay? Gay women?"
Because
And I
you're a
said,
cool
"Because you
chick.
know what? They are the most honest, the
Mm.
sweetest, the kindest, the no bullshit mob."
Well, because
When we
we've
talk
had
to them,
we've had our own
you've
discussions.
had your own issues.
I
Yeah.
got kicked out of the army as a 20-year-old kid. They were trying to kick me out from after I'd been in 10 weeks for being gay. I've been,
Oh,
but
God.
so we've all, that's it. Look, ours is nothing like what happened to you. However, we've had our version
Yes, of course you
of that.
have.
And I think
Yeah.
that similar experience, yeah, makes us
Yeah, the
like
similar
you.
experience we
Yeah.
can all, yeah, identify and empathize with, we get it. And
Yeah.
I said, there's
Dude.
no transcends the barriers, there's no education even. We don't have to educate them. They know what it's like,
Yeah.
They feel it, they know it. And
Yeah. It's huge.
yeah,
I
so
love
it's
that you
been
play with my mob.
yeah. So it's been great networks, and those networks have been very important for me too, That's how I've survived it,
Yeah,
and that's how I've really, come to terms with how I navigate this world, really.
yeah,
And we're just such. I think friendships are the best things.
yeah.
And
I
a friend of mine, Chinese guy, said that you're going to live a long life, Jackie, because you've got so many social networks.
totally keeps us alive, and the research now
Yes.
that up 100%. Being
Yeah.
community is the difference.
Mm.
Yeah. If you were going to give a piece of wisdom to younger women, Indigenous or non-Indigenous, who are listening today, what would you want them most to carry forward?
I would say to them, you just never ever give up.
Mm,
They tell you you can't have treaty. You go ahead and have treaty and truth telling. You subvert those structures and those institutions to enable, a better deal, more self-determination, and a voice for your people, right? You don't, um, you don't put up with just accepting the status quo and go back into your shelf. You have to fight. You have to keep fighting because that's the where the rubber hits the road. If you give up, then you've given up virtually on your people. So never do that, and keep you will get challenges and obstacles put in your way all throughout your life.
mm,
You just keep going and just be you. Don't be anybody else, but be yourself, respect yourself, and love yourself.
mm.
Because if you don't, then you will lose part of yourself. So yeah, that's the best
Great piece of advice.
advice.
Yeah,
And just keep continuing to make the best of your life, right through to the end because we only got one crack at this. We only got one crack, and it's a short time that we're here.
yeah,
And I always think of the scenario that any one of us could have been wiped out in our lives through your English wars,
mm,
through our frontier, through diseases like smallpox, and watching all those issues that have befronted my people. We could have got wiped out, but the mere fact
yeah,
that we are here on this earth right now talking to one another is a miracle in a sense for
mm,
me. We just, you know, we're put here for a purpose. I know that. I know that's so true. So just make the most of your life and make sure that you do the best thing that you can as a person
mm.
to make lives better for you and others, really. And once you do that, you're at peace with yourself. You think, well, I had a shot at it, and
Did
it
you make
came to this. There it
it?
was.
Yeah.
Mm.
Jackie, what have we not spoken about yet that
Um,
you really want to speak into? We haven't gone deep into some things. Time's gotten away, and I want to respect your time.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I was very much involved with the Uluru Estate from the Heart. I was one of the people that went out to Uluru and signed that beautiful declaration. It's not over yet, it's not over. The statement will present itself again this is my prediction,
Please do.
at some stage. Yeah, it will present itself. It will get revived. We will have treaty and truth-telling in this country like you wouldn't believe. Um, certainly, um, um, Not sure. Oh well, we have seen our first treaty in Victoria.
Victoria, yep.
Yeah, which is great. So there have been
The
some
start.
progressive movements.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think look, I've seen a lot of pushback since the referendum as well. Good stuff, like we have in some of the universities we have professors of truth telling that are still going with the work. I'm certainly working with places like Cherbourg, also um, Queensland, hopefully do the Cape and the Torres Straits next year, Stradbroke Island, who are ready to go. So we just keep
We,
doing the
yeah.
stuff that we need to do until we get a more progressive government, and the pendulum will swing. It's a matter of timing. It's a matter of timing. It may not happen the next two elections, but after that, there will be some advancement and there will be some way in which people will acknowledge that, hey, like Aboriginal people have been so far ahead of their time that we should have done it this way. That will come back.
Yeah.
Um, and the Constitution will be changed one day. And it'll take all those wonderful young minds to keep the fight up, the good fight up for us. And yeah, and just I've also seen the spaces where I know there is a more confident allyship happening, and I know that there has been increases in numbers in the reconciliation movement
Mm,
as well. People wanting to join and to say, well, what can we do? What more can we do? Which is great. So, I'll never not think that it's hopeless, it's over, because that's a very defeatist attitude that we don't need to have.
agree. Last question, Professor Jackie Huggins. You ready?
Yep.
With all the wisdom that you've got in your 70-year self-net days, what would
Mhm.
you say to your 18-year-old self?
Oh, just 18. I was different
18.
days then.
Yeah.
I was young and I had a boyfriend and a car and a good job at the ABC. Um, but I always said there's much more to life than this in terms of, where you want to go in your life and work for your people. Um, so 18, I'd say just pursue your dreams that you've always had about being a champion for your people. You will get there one day, and to tell you the truth, I, in a sort of a way, I know I have got there.
Yeah. Well, as a whitey looking in, I'm so thankful for everything you've fought for and continue to stand for with such wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. And Alice, it's been lovely talking to you.
Yeah, I'll put a link below. Anyone who's listening to this podcast, I'll put a link below as Alice comes into view. You can come into view. I'll put a
Hi,
link
Alice.
to because this will go on YouTube as well for people to track down your books, all that kind of stuff. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.